Alrighty, welcome back. Another wonderful Wednesday. Hopefully, you are doing well. And let's take a look at what's going on in the market because, boy, we got some stuff to look at. First off, we are definitely seeing solid rotation out of tech. Solid, solid, solid. We're going to look at some things. We're definitely going to look at some things. Tech is probably going to be lagging for a while. Tech is going to be lagging for a while, and yeah, that's all. That's all you really need to know. You can see the market actually had a pretty good gap down today. This is kind of coming on the back of Microsoft, Alphabet earnings. We definitely gapped down 0.4% on the SPY. That's actually not that bad, considering what the Qs did gap down. So hey, what was the reason why the market is selling off so much? Tech is getting obliterated, Ali. Tech is getting obliterated. So, yeah, we did gap down roughly 0.4% there on the market, but it wasn't so much the gap down as it was the first few minutes of trading on the market. And we'll look at the Qs, IWM, DIA, and the RSP. But man, right away, I mean, we were selling on the market, selling on the market. And when you take a look at the Qs, you'll see just how, like, people were just like, yep, done with tech. They were just done with tech. So you got the SPY right now down 1.4%, but you got the Qs down 2.4%. Oof, that's a rough day on the Qs. So yeah, SPY actually sold down basically roughly first 30 minutes. Had a little bit of a retest higher, and I'm going to look at this area, really the first couple of hours here, and the difference between the Qs and the other four major indices that I kind of or indexes that I kind of watch here, and you'll see just how much different the Qs were compared to the other four. Okay, we kind of retested higher here for about 45 minutes, an hour, and then we just kind of rolled over. And this is going to be led by the Qs breaking down, and the Qs actually. I'm looking at the SPY here, but the SPY and the Qs actually broke last week's low, broke Monday's low as well. So yeah, we sold down pretty good. You can see the SPY getting below that Monday low, which we had a gap down pretty good there on Monday. Obviously, 2 days higher retest, but breaking down today. Unless we have a pretty good rally, I don't see us closing over 420 on the SPY, which is going to be a very significant close on the SPY today. We might close over 4,200 on the SPX. Like, we're not too far off. I mean, we can rally this. That's easy, but all the way up to 420, I doubt it. I doubt that happens. Ali said earnings were good on tech. Yeah, they were good. That's kind of what we were talking about yesterday. Earnings might be good. You know, I wasn't expecting tech to come out and have bad earnings, but what I was kind of what we were talking about yesterday was like they have to continue to up growth and forecast, and Alphabet actually they didn't beat on their cloud growth. So that's when we get to looking at Alphabet. That's one area where they lagged. And that's one of the big reasons why they got hit. They got hit on cloud growth. Microsoft, they did pretty crude. They did. I mean, they beat across the board. The thing is like I wasn't really seeing on Microsoft side. Now Microsoft did gap up, and we'll get there, but I wasn't really seeing the whole like here's like super new growth area or number or forecast numbers to lead to higher growth later on. Like that's not I didn't really get that from Microsoft's earnings. So that's the issue I had with Microsoft, but they did gap up and we'll take a look at that. But yeah, we did have a pretty good solid rollover here, setting up really well with the Qs. I'm going to come back to the Qs. I'll do that one last. IWM had a very solid gap down here. Gap down roughly 0.85%. Rolled over the first 30. Nice little bounce here. But you see intraday, it hasn't sold off as much since the open. It's only down 1.6%, but it had one of the larger gap downs on the day. So this, I mean, the IWM starting to be a little sneaky, not as bearish anymore. And it's, it's in that major, kind of support level. It's, I mean, even if it breaks these lows from late last year, middle last year, it still has a pretty solid support down at 160. So yeah, I mean, it's not like there's a lot of downside risk here. I don't think. I just don't see the IWM being that bearish. So not to say that it might not go bearish, might not drop more. It's just, I mean, compared to some other assets out there, especially these five major ETFs, I don't see it being a major bearish one. The DIA, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you can see a lot of people flooded in here into the DIA. So take a look at healthcare. UNH is the biggest stock in the Dow Jones. So we'll take a look at that. But yeah, you can see DIA, the Dow Jones, actually gapped up today. I mean, that's solid. Gapped up, but sold down, bounced, was positive there for about an hour, and then rolled back over, back down to the daily lows. It's only down 1/3%. Not looking too bad there on the Dow Jones. A lot of not risky companies, non-risky companies in the Dow Jones. So not looking too bad there. We'll take a look at UNH. See how that's doing today. RSP, the equal weight SP 500, down 1.1%. Did gap down roughly 0.5%, about 0.5% there. Rolled over, bounced pretty good. And you can see it barely made a new daily low when the Qs and SPY are really falling. We were seeing a lot of flows into the first part of the day, or really that second hour of the day. We were seeing a lot of flows into stocks, not big tech. And it was very evident looking at that RSP. That RSP was very, very telling on a lot of the stocks out there getting bought up that were not big tech. So, looking at the Qs in big tech. All right, so as you kind of look at the Qs, they got hit very hard on the open. Obviously, they did have a pretty good gap down here. They gapped down roughly 0.7%. The SPY gapped down roughly 0.4%. IWM gapped down roughly 0.85%. The Qs here kind of a little bit of a middle ground in between those two, gap down. But man, that first 5 minutes, I was watching that first couple of minutes. Let me go to a 1 minute. They were just getting hit. And I mean, the SPY kind of looks like this. It's just not as bad. Like, people were just hammering the Qs on the open. And even when the market was retest, like all the other, all these other RSP, DIA, IWM, they all have this little second hour rally. Even the SPY has a little bit of one, not as much, just because the Qs and big tech weigh on it. So, I mean, the Qs just went flat, and I was watching that even on like the 1 minute. You could tell like the pumps were not nearly as strong, and then the drops were just a lot stronger than the ones that were coming through on the other major ETFs. And I was like, yeah, I think today's going to be the day where we sell down pretty strong. Just the way that first like hour and a half kind of went. I really kind of thought that on the open. Just kind of made sense, I guess. But when you got to this time period and you see the 4 out of the 5 here, or at least on my list here, were just screaming bullish in that second hour, and then the Qs were just like not doing anything. They were just flat mostly. Yeah, you can tell that we're going to see some tech selling today. So that's basically what we're selling, what we're seeing, and we've kind of seen it since that period. The Qs broke down the daily low first, basically right here at 11:40 Eastern, and then the SPY finally did it about 25 minutes later, 30 minutes later. They broke down, got to 4,200 on the SPX, and then a little bit of a hangout there, and then they continued to roll over. So that's kind of how the day's gone. Yeah, tech is probably just going to continue to get hammered. Obviously, breaking major supports here on the Qs. And I mean, we're probably just setting up for a nice, easy 4.5%, 5% pullback, easy. And we'll find out. I don't think Meta and Amazon are going to be able to save this. I mean, we'll find out tomorrow. So XLC is down a lot. This is mostly due to Alphabet. We'll take a look at Alphabet. Yeah, Alphabet got crushed on earnings. And basically, they missed on operating income, and a lot of that had to do with the miss on cloud revenue, the cloud business growth. So that's where they missed. Real estate's down. XLY also down, which I know they haven't reported, but Meta and Amazon, they're getting smacked today, and they haven't reported. That might be a pretty interesting tell for investors, right? And we'll take a look at Microsoft as well. The price action intraday suggests investors are done with tech. Investors are done with tech. Staples are actually positive. Also, utilities positive. So they're the two largest outperformers on the day. Energy's outperforming. Financials outperforming. Healthcare outperforming. Materials as well. Industrials, tech, big tech. So Microsoft's actually helping out tech there. So intraday price action. XLC, XLK, so tech and communications actually lagging behind here on the intraday price action. It's kind of what I was just mentioning about the intraday price action. Like, investors seem to be done with tech. XLY is a little bit outperforming there, but Tesla, which broke down pretty good last week, it was probably just oversold, having a somewhat decent day. It's not following the trends of big tech. So that's probably what's helping the XLY be a little bit outperforming on the intraday price action. Let's see, real estate basically in line with the market. Industrials a little bit outperforming. Materials, energies, healthcare, financials, utilities and staples. Yeah, money's just flowing into utilities and staples throughout the day. Financials, which had been beaten up, yeah, you can see some pretty good intraday outperformance there. They got beat up. Financials got beat up over the past 2 weeks. So Microsoft, even on the open, you can see Microsoft was getting hit. I mean, it had a nice gap up. Right? We had a very nice gap up. We cleared a pretty good resistance level back from mid-September and got over that. And you know what? Maybe we just retested into that. We kind of also retested, almost retested into these upper wicks back from like last week here. So I don't know. I'm just not super excited about this price action because people just came out and just sold it down for the first couple of hours. Could be a retest, and maybe we fly higher going into close, and that would set up somewhat nice on the daily picture. But I mean, the fact that people, like, there was not even like some bullishness for the first 30 minutes. People were just selling it for the first couple of hours. Like, if it would have done a little bit more of like up and then it rolled over and then it formed this, like, I would be a little bit more encouraged by that, because at least there was buyers. You would have seen buyers in the beginning part of the day, but we didn't really see a whole lot of that. So that's just kind of my opinion of it. So if we see Microsoft kind of roll over here towards the end of the day, then it's not going to set up great going forward. So I don't know. But they had great. I mean, they had great numbers. I mean, they did, but top line they beat by over 3.5%. They beat bottom line by 12.5%. They did really good. And that's why it's so hard to say to be bearish on Microsoft ever. They're a monster when it comes to executing their business. I mean, they're a monster. Just crazy. I think they might have taken the right stance on AI and kind of talking about that earlier in the year, back a couple months. Their stance on AI is not to it's not to not participate, but it's to house AI in their Azure, their cloud, and then all these companies that are developing AI, they get to benefit whether the AI companies work out or not. Right? You got to pay for the cloud, but if nobody uses your AI, you still got to pay for the cloud, right? So they have a pretty good model going about it. That's kind of my take. And the other cool thing about Microsoft is they are going to be able to see which one of these AI type companies that they're housing, which one of them is doing the best, gain the most traction, and then potentially go buy them out. I think it's really smart. I mean, I don't know if that's their thought process or anything like that. To me, that's what I would be thinking of. Like, okay, we'll just house all you guys, and then whoever does the best, we'll just go buy you out. Alphabet. All right, let's talk about Alphabet. So they didn't do bad, but they missed on cloud. Like that's that's where all of these companies have been growing a lot over the past good while, and that's where Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet have they've been growing their total business. It's been coming from the cloud. So the fact that they missed their growth numbers, that's not typically that's not a good thing. It's just not. I mean, you can see they're down 9.5%. They broke two major support levels back from August and September, and they're basically sitting right on. This is not the best spot to go bearish on Alphabet, but they're sitting right on this pretty major resistance level, support and resistance level. So, I mean, it could just be a retest because we broke out above over the past couple of months. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, and you see, like we basically gapped down here on Alphabet, and we basically just traded right down to this line in the first 15 minutes. Kind of a lot of sideways action there for a few hours, and we broke down about an hour ago. Just kind of came down, and then it's basically just hanging out under. You can see it. I mean, it bounced on that support level once, and then twice, and then went through it the third time, and then basically just retested that line. And now it's under that line, and it's having a hard time getting back over that line. That's not exactly the best spot to be trying to get bearish on Alphabet, but I would be really cautious on being bullish with this action here over the past hour. So yeah. Anyways, Google getting smacked down today. But I think the more interesting thing is going to be from two companies that are going to have earnings this week. We're going to see. So let's go to Meta real quick. So Meta, who didn't have earnings, obviously, last night, they're going to have earnings today after the bell. I mean, they got crushed. They got crushed on the open. Look at that first 5 minute. I mean, that first 5 minute was a 2% move. That first 5 minute was 2%. From the open of that candle to the bottom of that candle was 2%. I mean, they got crushed. So they're currently down 3.85%. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it seems like investors are done with tech. And it's not that, I mean, we've seen big tech companies kind of miss before or lower guidance before, but it hasn't impacted other big tech companies like this. Like, this is a very clear sign that investor mindset is definitely changing. So yeah, we had a nice little retest here for about 30 minutes, and it just rolled over basically at the daily lows, like right here. Now, it is sitting right on that 300 level, which it has been for much of the past several months. past couple of months. Yeah, made a nice breakout higher here early October. Made a new trend yearly high. And then I mean, that was basically it, though. It has come back down ever since then. Huge breakdown today, breaking below that 50 EMA, sitting right on 300, which is it's been around for a while. So, yeah, I just here's another one. Amazon tomorrow after the bell. Amazon, look at that move. They didn't have earnings. That is huge. They're down 5.5%. 5.5%. They didn't announce earnings. That's all and that a lot, not all, a lot of that's intraday price action, right? They broke below the late September low. They gapped down. How much did they gap down? Come on, move. Thank you. They gapped down roughly 2%. I mean, and they didn't even really get much of a buy up action. I mean, they've just been selling down all day. I guess the longest bullishness they've had has really been here over the past 30 minutes. So, yeah, that's just kind of what I'm getting out of the market is the market seems to be done with big tech. And I get it. We haven't even seen Apple yet. They're going to be next week. We haven't seen Meta, Tesla. We saw them last week. They got hammered. Amazon, we'll see Thursday after the bell, and they're getting annihilated today. Like they missed earnings. You know, so and this is the largest cloud company out there. I mean, they're the largest. So yeah, not the best. Tesla, yeah, you can see the beginning part of the day, Tesla was actually holding up okay, even though it was very choppy. But I mean, they got hit pretty good after their earnings last week, down pretty good. So kind of a retest. They didn't take out yesterday's high, but threw a pretty nice upper wick yesterday. Thrown a nice little upper wick today, mostly because of the sell down that happened for about 2.5 hours. Nice little retest here over the past 30 minutes. So, I mean, Tesla got hammered last week. They were probably just oversold. You can definitely see how much they were oversold. They're still pretty far away from that 10 EMA that's still coming down. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that Tesla's not getting absolutely obliterated because they got obliterated last week. And then AAPL, going to have earnings next week. Down 1.2% roughly. Nice buy up here in the second hour of the day, or first 2 hours of the day, I guess. First 5 minutes was kind of bearish, but after that it was okay. Yeah, first 2 hours looking pretty good, and then it just kind of rolled over. So be very interesting to see what we get out of AAPL here next Thursday after the bell. So a week and a day after the bell. And yeah. Yep, that's just kind of how it goes. I wonder, let's take a look at semiconductors. NVIDIA is getting hit pretty good, down almost 4%. Very steady selling that has come in constantly throughout the day on NVIDIA, except for about the past 30 minutes or so. Okay, so AMD is getting rocked, down over 5%. That's just kind of what I mean by, like, it seems like these companies are just, investors are done with big tech. I mean, they've just gotten rocked today. Texas Instruments. Oh yeah, Texas Instruments came to a very important level. So kind of mentioned before in the past several weeks, like we're gonna have a pretty solid support level down here. Well, we gapped below that and we retested into that mid 140s level here on TXN, but you're gonna have the pre-COVID high just a little bit lower, down at the mid 130s. So unless you snagged that bearish position on that retest higher today, I'd probably just wait to look to buy the dip at the 130s, in the mid 130s. And it happened really quick, like on the open. First 5 minute, kind of, got up into that mid 140 areas, and that was basically it. So, but look for Texas Instruments probably just to fall off to to the mid 130s here. I know that's kind of tough to ask because it's been such a sharp, not a sharp, but it's been in a steady drop off here over the past couple of months. So, I just wouldn't do anything with it just because it's been in such a steady drop off. But I would just look to buy it in the like 135 area. Anyways, so Intel's getting crushed, down 5%, steady selling throughout the day. AVGO is probably going to be getting crushed, down 3%. Not bad, not bad. Could have been worse. I hadn't looked at this one yet today, but yeah, could have been worse. I was just kind of surprised that this one's held up as strong as it is, and I was kind of thinking that maybe it would be selling down more. Okay. Not bad. What else? Qualcomm. I mean, Qualcomm's getting crushed. Down almost 4%. It's been down 4%. I mean, just steady selling.